Every once in a while, a movie comes along that makes you stop and ask, who thought this was a good idea? That's exactly what happened with Red Sonja, a film that spent years stuck in development hell, sat in storage for 3 more, and finally stumbled onto the screen like a drunk gladiator looking for the exit. The chaos started long before cameras rolled. At one point, Robert Rodriguez was supposed to direct. Rose McGowan was rumored to star. Even Bryan Singer and Amber Heard were attached. But the project collapsed again and again, like a cursed relic nobody wanted to touch. Finally, in 2022, they managed to film the whole thing in Bulgaria. And then it sat untouched for 3 years. And when a movie collects dust for that long, you know it's not because the studio was polishing a masterpiece. So what did we actually get? Imagine an old Xena, warrior princess episode stretched out 3 times longer, drained of all the charm, and played with the seriousness of Game of Thrones. The problem? The movie doesn't realize it's ridiculous. Everyone involved acts like they're making a deep, epic tale, which only makes the whole thing funnier. We start in a medieval village so diverse and progressive, it feels like it was cast by a Hollywood HR department. Out of nowhere, bad guys attack, including a random giant monkey man whose existence is never explained. The screen fades to black, and suddenly, boom, 20 years later. No answers, no explanations, just Sonja, now living alone in the forest, looking like she stepped out of Beverly Hills Spa Day. Her quiet life doesn't last. Hunters show up, animals die, and Sonja decides to take revenge against 100 armed soldiers. It goes as well as you'd expect. She loses, gets captured, and is thrown into the gladiator pits. But here's the kicker. Despite never training or even winning a fight on screen, she instantly becomes the best gladiator of all time. Apparently, hunting deer in the woods prepares you to defeat armored warriors. Who knew? Then, there's the Emperor. His entire motivation? Finding the last page of some magical book. The problem? He's already used the book to conquer the world. So what's left? Conquer it again? His reasoning is laughable, his dialogue sounds like a modern millennial whining about deadlines, and his screen presence makes Pedro Pascal in a rainbow onesie look terrifying by comparison. But even if the villain was a disaster, the look of the film makes it worse. CGI creatures that feel unfinished, costumes that look stolen from a low-budget medieval restaurant, and dialogue so awful the actors sound embarrassed to say it. At one point, a character actually warns, "I have a wooden sword." You best hope it's not a giant beaver. That line alone should have buried this movie forever. Now let's talk performances, because if the sets looked cheap and the CGI was embarrassing, at least the actors could save it, right? Well, kind of. Lead actress Matilda Lutz clearly tried. She got in fantastic shape, she swings a sword like she means it, and she carries herself with confidence. You can tell she wanted this role to work, but the movie doesn't do her any favors. Instead of building Sonja into a believable warrior, the costume department decided skimpy outfits were enough, and the fight choreography? Laughable. She defeats armored giants like she's brushing lint off her shoulder. Compare that to Valeria in Conan the Barbarian. Tall, intimidating, and trained so well that her combat looked authentic. Lutz could have done the same if the script and direction weren't sabotaging her every move. And then there's the supporting cast. Half of them look like they wandered onto the wrong set. The other half act like they'd rather be anywhere else. You've got performers who are genuinely talented, but they're trapped in dialogue so clunky it makes the room sound polished. The end result? Performances that range from too good for this she to not good enough for any as she. I already mentioned how weak the Emperor's motivation was, but the more you think about it, the worse it gets. This guy literally conquered the world using his magic book. He already won. But apparently that wasn't enough. He needed the missing page to finish his story? That's it? That's his big evil plan? And the actor doesn't help. Instead of radiating menace, he speaks like a bored office worker reading off a PowerPoint presentation. Imagine Darth Vader if he constantly apologized for being evil. That's the level we're working with here. The script wants him to feel like a grand, commanding villain, but he comes across more like the annoying guy in your group project who insists on being leader but doesn't actually do anything. And just when you think the villain's blandness is the low point, the visuals drag you down even further. The costumes look like they were borrowed from a second-rate Renaissance fair. The armor bends and wobbles like plastic Halloween costumes. And the CGI monsters? Forget it. They look like video game cutscenes from the early 2000s. Then there's the dialogue. One of the most infamous lines, "I have a wooden sword." You best hope it's not a giant beaver, that's a real line. Someone wrote that. Someone approved it. An actor stood there in costume and had to deliver it with a straight face. Honestly, that line alone should have been enough to cancel the entire movie. Here's the thing, Red Sonja could have worked. The 1985 version with Brigitte Nielsen was cheesy, yes, but at least it knew what it was. It had campy fun, and it even had Arnold Schwarzenegger to inject charisma. This version? It thinks it's some grand, serious epic with deep lessons about destiny, but that illusion falls apart immediately. Instead of inspiring respect, it inspires laughter. Instead of being fun, it feels preachy. And instead of standing out, it becomes a relic of an era that already passed. Back in 2018, you might have gotten away with the unstoppable girl boss trope. But in 2025, audiences see through it instantly. And now, Red Sonja has achieved something no filmmaker ever wants. It pleased no one. Fans of campy fantasy hate it because it takes itself too seriously. Fans of message movies hate it because it feels shallow and exploitative. Normal audiences hate it because it's just boring. The truth is, Red Sonja wasn't just a bad movie. It was a wasted opportunity. Sword and sorcery films can work. We've seen them succeed with Conan, with Lord of the Rings, even with TV shows like Xena. But when you strip away the fun, the charisma, and the charm, all you're left with is 2 hours of dull nonsense. After years of chaotic development, 3 years locked away, and a release that landed with a thud, Red Sonja finally hit theaters and immediately reminded everyone why it had been shelved in the first place. Weak villain, nonsensical writing, bad CGI, awkward performances, and an identity crisis that doomed it from the start. Maybe some movies really should stay buried, because once you've seen Red Sonja, you can't help but ask yourself the same question over and over. How is this movie even real?